Good morning. Welcome to my thought for the day on 1 Peter 1 and verse 6. It says, "In this you rejoice, though now for a little while you may have to suffer various trials, so that the genuineness of your faith, more precious than gold, which though perishable is tested by fire, may redound to praise and glory and honor at the revelation of Jesus Christ." So this is the key. The key for all of us when things are difficult. Whatever the trials are, Peter doesn't say what they are, but there were a lot of pressures on the church at the time he was writing. There were people who'd had to leave their homes. There were people whose families had rejected them because they had become Christians. There were people who were in prison. There were people hiding because of the persecution. But we may not face persecution, but we may face all sorts of other difficulties that come our way. And the reason for that is because the enemy of our souls, the enemy of the Lord Jesus Christ, Satan himself, the devil, whatever you like to call him, he doesn't really bother much to attack people who aren't making a difference in their world for Jesus. And if you're making a difference in your world for Jesus, then you have it's a bit like you put a target on your back and on your chest, and the enemy is throwing fiery darts at you. Because he hates us. He hates those who follow Jesus. And he doesn't want other people to follow Jesus either. He doesn't want people to be influenced by what we say or do. So he attacks us because he wants to bring us down. He wants to defeat us. And God here is saying through Peter that when those things happen and we hang on by faith to the wonderful things that Peter has described in the previous 3 verses about what God has done for us and how secure we are and how wonderful our salvation is and what our wonderful prospects are in eternity, as we turn to those for comfort and encouragement to stand firm in our faith, so the faith that we have is refined and purified, just like gold is purified, not by putting it in water or just leaving it on the side. Gold is purified by going through the fire when all the impurities are burned off. So it's not right to say that God tests our faith, but God sees our faith tested by the attacks of the enemy as we stand in faith. And when trouble comes, when difficulty comes, when we don't, everything in our physical world doesn't feel right and isn't right, we look to those eternal truths that Peter has described. And we look to them, we draw strength from them, and we stand firm in our faith. The genuineness of your faith, which is more precious than gold. That's the thing to think about. You know, your faith and my faith, this trust we have in Jesus, which the world thinks of as stupid and worthless and a waste of space, God sees as more precious than gold. And gold is very precious. There's not much in this world that is more precious than gold. And that is how God sees your faith and my faith. When we hang on by faith, when we make statements of faith, when things are really difficult, and when we know the consequences from standing on our faith are likely to be estrangement from people we know and love who disagree with us and who think that we should just abandon our faith because they don't like it, and there comes a barrier, a division in friendships or relationships because of our faith. God looks at our faith and sees it as more precious than gold. That's, that is something to think about, And this is the key to how we survive when things get difficult. That when things come against you and everything seems very black, we have to go back to the wonder of who we are in Jesus and what he has done for us. And turn to God in blessing and say to him, whatever following you costs me, whatever difficulties are ahead of me, I am going to bless you for the wonderful new birth you gave me in Jesus, and for the resurrection of Jesus from the dead, and the inheritance you're holding on to for me in heaven. I'm rejoicing in those eternal truths. And the enemy can't touch me. He can't touch you when you stand firm on the eternal truths. Because the worst that can ever happen to us is that we die physically. But we can't be robbed of all that God has done for us in Jesus and all the change that has happened to us. We cannot be unborn again, as it were. We can't go back. He can't take us back to before we found Jesus. But we can abandon things if we choose. But this is the key. This is the key when things are difficult. When everything seems against us and the road is hard, is to look at what God has done for us. And I think that is why it is so important to go to communion service, breaking of bread services, the Eucharist, whatever you call it. Because in those simple acts of remembrance, when we take bread and wine or fruit juice, whatever your church does, and we remember the cost of our salvation, and we look to Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, the one who endured everything for us, and we are strengthened to stand in whatever trial has come our way. And that faith is more precious to God than gold. What a thought. Have a great day. I will see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.